Calling, guys. Talk to me nice.
Welcome back to Sports Tea. Welcome back to Sports Tea.
Talk to me nice. Nice. Calling, guys. Talk to me nice. Calling, guys. Talk to me nice. Talk to me nice.
Hey everyone, welcome back to Sports Tea. How's everyone doing? Oh, I missed you guys. I had some crazy construction happening. I wish that I could have gone live sooner, especially to talk about game 3. That was hilarious. But we're here now, so welcome on in. As everyone loads into the room, do me a favor and like the video, share the video. That's really important to me, guys, because if you're sharing the video, then that means that we can grow the Sports Tea community to be even larger and to have just more people talking about sports and having good vibes. So definitely share the video for me so we can continue to grow the subscriber base and members. Also do me a favor and like the video. Okay. Like the video, subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already. And tonight we are going to talk about the Lakers versus the Timberwolves. I'll touch briefly upon game 3, nothing so huge, but game 4 was a really, really big game for the T-Wolves to win and a really bad game for the Lakers to lose. So I'm really excited to jump right into it. Thank you all for joining me again. We have some other exciting topics. Really and truly, the first, I would say the Lakers and Timberwolves game, obviously it's probably the talk of the town, right? But my favorite series right now is the Knicks versus the Pistons, not just because I'm a Knicks fan, but because they are playing some really physical defense. The games are super low scoring, and it's just been really exciting to watch them. Super physical games. The refs aren't calling anything in that series. So it's kind of like watching 80s with a mixture of 90s in there. So it feels really, really, really good to see the kind of basketball that I love being played. So the Knicks, the Pistons, neither of those teams are going anywhere, but they're playing really, really great basketball. So let's just go right ahead and jump into first things first, and that's the Lakers versus the Wolves. This game, it was just, I have been saying it all along. The Lakers are going to win. There's no way that the Timberwolves are going to be able to survive this series. I mean, loads of us on YouTube are saying it, that we just can't imagine the NBA, the officials allowing for the Minnesota Timberwolves to beat Luka and LeBron. Minnesota Timberwolves, they're fighting an uphill battle against the FNBA. That means the protection of foreign NBA players who are usually allowed to do whatever they want. They can foul, they can travel with the ball, they can do all kinds of things. And there's a protection there with the referees, right? They can flop, they can do just pretty much whatever they want. We see it with Giannis all the time. He just runs over defenders, travels, carries with the ball, all kinds of things, right? And then you have LeBron James, who the NBA, even YouTube content creators all over the place, are pretty much guaranteeing LeBron this 5th ring. The media was even trying to guarantee him a 5th ring, and it doesn't seem that that's going to happen. The Lakers are on the brink of elimination. That's what's happening. They're down 3-1, and we've seen LeBron come back 3-1. Obviously, I believe it was in 2016, that title that was a supposed stimulus package, as Stephen A. Smith likes to say. But the truth is LeBron has been down 3-1 before, and that was the only time that he came back from that, was that title run where Draymond Green was suspended and the NBA sort of helped there, right? We all know what would have happened had those things not happened. Would have been another finals loss for LeBron, likely, right? But this first round, it's really interesting because Shannon Sharpe and loads of mainstream media members were pretty much saying that the Lakers were going to blow through the first round, second round, and even the conference finals and make it all the way to the finals. They were calling JJ Redick Coach of the Year, which I just find to be so funny and hilarious. And this morning, lo and behold, mainstream media members all over the place across ESPN, Fox, wherever you name it, they all woke up this morning blaming JJ Redick, not LeBron James, not Luka Doncic. They didn't talk about the players' failures on the court. They blame JJ Redick. And I will say that a lot of blame does go to him for his lack of coaching and his rookie mistakes. The experience that he doesn't have is what got him in this place. So like I said, let's jump into this Lakers game. I do want to break it down for you guys. We can start with the game stats. Luka Doncic obviously scored the most points for the Lakers. Big whoop-de-doo. We all could have guessed that, right? He came out super aggressive in the first half. First quarter points, I think he had 14 points in the first quarter alone. Came out super aggressive, hitting shots, and really just trying to set the pace for the Lakers. And the Lakers were up for most of this game. Anthony Edwards was the highest scorer on the floor. He outplayed everybody on the floor and showed why we call him Ant-Man, showed why we thought at any point in time he could be the face of the league. And he really ascended in this game. He had one of those, amazing sort of virtuoso games. He stepped up for his team. He was 12 of 23 on the floor. Luka Doncic was 13 of 28. Lakers, they made 36 of 80 field goals, and Minnesota made 38 of 90. So they had more field goal attempts. When you take a look at the three-point shots, the Lakers shot way more threes. And they made 19 of those threes versus the Timberwolves shot only 36 threes and they made 14 of them. So it looks like the Lakers shot better from a percentage standpoint than the Timberwolves did. The Lakers should have been able to win this game. When you take a look at their field goal and three-point attempts, it looks like they should have been in position to win, and they were. Then you go ahead and you take a look at the free throws. So yes, Minnesota wound up getting to the line more times. They went there 33 times. I mean, at what point are they supposed to get a couple more free throws? I believe it was game 3. LeBron James went to the free throw line like 20 times. They still lost. LeBron James has been on the line multiple times. I mean, they're giving him calls. I actually think it was this game. In game 4, he went to the line so many times. I'll take a look at the box score. I can't, I'm like blurring game 3 and game 4, but LeBron James has been at the free throw line. That's where he's getting majority of his points, honestly. We take a look at the rebounding. Minnesota out-rebounded the Lakers. They were crashing the offensive glass and defensive glass, and they just out-rebounded the Lakers flat out. Straight up, they out-rebounded them. There were moments where I was like, wow, are the Lakers going to even try to rebound the ball? So it's interesting to me. They talked about, their defensive effort, and it looked fake to me. And I'll get into that in a moment. But, I think there was even a point where LeBron James almost injured Anthony Edwards, he dove for the ball, but conveniently right under his knees, right under his legs, almost took him right out of not just the game, but perhaps the rest of the postseason. Now, he didn't get injured, thank goodness, but it just looked like we were having these moments of hustling, but also having a lot of moments on resting, missing defensive assignments, and resting on offense. So I just don't see the same kind of hustle and effort that JJ Redick sees. I get it. He played them a lot of minutes. I'm just not going to put it all on JJ Redick. The players on the floor, they've been doing this for a long time. They're professionals, and they've got to get it together for the playoffs. Step up for the playoffs. Lakers assisted the ball more than the Timberwolves. They had more blocks. They turned the ball over more. They had 12 turnovers, and boy, oh boy, were those turnovers pretty bad. Minnesota killed them on the turnovers. So yes, Minnesota had 9 versus their 12. It doesn't look like a lot, but when you take a look at the points conceded off the turnovers, that's when it becomes important. Timberwolves were down majority of the game, and then they were able to get back into it because they were scoring off the Minnesota turnovers. They also had more fast break points. They had almost 20 additional points in the paint. The Lakers, they had no interior play. They had no rim protection. Minnesota was just going in the paint at will. And when they couldn't hit threes, no problem. I'll just go in the paint. And that's what they did. When they couldn't get the shots that they wanted, when their shots weren't falling, they just went into the paint and they attacked. So Lakers held for most of the game. They had about a 10-point lead as I was watching. Their largest lead was 12, and Minnesota just walked them down. The Lakers completely collapsed in the fourth quarter. We're going to get into the box score. So when you take a look at what the Timberwolves did, you got participation from their bench. Look at Naz Reid. You would think that he was a starter. I think he should start the game sometimes, but bringing him off the bench, he's been very effective, 50% from 3. He hits big shots, timely shots. He only scored 12 points, and people will be like, "Oh, that's no big deal." But in fact, it is a big deal when you're hitting 50% of your three-pointers and you're also making timely shots, and you're making those shots when it's needed. So people, they talk about timely shots often, but it's the shots that are necessary to win the game. It's the shots that put you ahead. It's the shots that get you in position to win. And Naz Reid is that kind of player. So you got so much production out of the starters. I mean, Rudy Gobert, I don't even know why he's there, but again, I guess he provides some rim protection. He gets rebounds. So we had 10 rebounds. Um, he I guess he provides some sort of defense. I just can't stand the fact that he's been defensive player of the year and he can't defend LeBron, he can't defend Luka. Rudy Gobert is food on defense. Let's be for real. He does not belong defensive player of the year. Mike Conley had another low scoring game. He scored 2 points. He played 25 minutes on the floor. So I'm just wondering why he's not a little bit more effective for them, why we're not seeing it in the box score. But Jaden McDaniels has been a staple for the Minnesota Timberwolves. He has been balling 6 of 11 from the floor, 2 of 3 from behind the arc. He hits his free throws. Julius Randle stepped up. I predicted that Minnesota would be a first round knockout because of Julius Randle, and I was wrong. So I'm happy to say that I was wrong. Julius Randle is playing much better on the Timberwolves. It seems and appears as though Anthony Edwards has unlocked something in Julius Randle, and I think that that's really special. And I'm happy for Julius Randle. I just don't think that he was able uh, to sort of handle the pressure of the media in New York City. And I think with Minnesota, it's a small market team. Obviously, there's pressure because Ant-Man is there, but there's just less media pressure. There's less bashing you in the newspaper that Julius Randle has to handle. So, salute to Julius Randle, Jaden McDaniels, and the Minnesota Timberwolves. They beat the Lakers 3 times so far, and all they need is one more game. So Dante DiVincenzo has also been solid. Do I think he could play a little bit better? Do I think he was playing better with the Knicks? Absolutely. But I think that if he is to have a long playoff run with the Minnesota Timberwolves, we'll see him become unlocked next season. We'll see him become more of their teammate and closer to them as they continue to win as a team together. So now when we take a look at what the Los Angeles Lakers did, so Rui Hachimura has stepped up. So he's played 41 minutes in this game. He has really turned up his level of aggression, his level of scoring in this game and in game 3. LeBron James, you take a look at the stat line, looks great. 46 minutes. He played every single minute of the game. 5 of 9 from the floor. 2 of 4, so 50% from 3. That looks great. That stat line looks great. Then we see he has 15. I thought he shot 20 free throws in this game. It was 18 free throws. He missed 3 of them, made 15 of them. So majority, literally 15 out of the 27 points that he made. So he only made 9 of those points actually from the floor. 15 of them came from the free throw line. So LeBron was just getting all the star calls, him and Luka. Luka made 100% of his free throws, though. That's the difference. LeBron also had 12 rebounds, 8 assists. He had a -3 turnovers, but those turnovers were awful. They were awful. Jackson Hayes played a total of 4 minutes. He's supposed to be their big man center. He's supposed to be the center for them. 4 minutes, that's all JJ Redick could do. Luka Doncic has been begging for a center. So is LeBron James, begging for a center. Jackson Hayes is that hybrid role for them. And I don't know why, you're comfortable to play Anthony Davis, somebody who is refusing to play center, but you can't play Jackson Hayes at the center? Put him in the game. Austin Reeves hasn't been playing that well. He's not pulling up and dropping 30. We're not seeing him with 30-point performances in the postseason, which I knew was going to happen. Is he their third scoring option? Not in the playoffs. Postseason, it's Rui Hachimura. Take a look. He's the one getting his face mangled, throwing on a mask, and still coming out to ball. So I hope that Rui Hachimura gets the recognition and the credit that he deserves on the Lakers. He's been balling. He's been hustling. He's been scrapping. And Luka Doncic and LeBron James have been scrambling and scraping. Take a look at the bench. The Lakers bench did nothing for them. Absolutely nothing. The bench scored a total of 6 points. And granted, JJ Redick did not play anybody from the bench for the entire second half. But 6 points, you have a slasher on your team like Dorian Finney-Smith, and you're relying on him for 41 minutes. He's the guy that you put in to play in that second half, right? This is what we're doing. You have him a part of that second half rotation, not Jackson Hayes. But you can't trust Gabe Vincent, somebody who's made it to the NBA Finals? Really? He had big games in the NBA Finals for the Miami Heat, and you're going to just completely ignore him, have him play 13 minutes? I guess maybe JJ Redick wanted to rely on Bronny a little bit more. I don't know. Oh, sheesh. But my little teacups, I do want to share with you what I saw on the floor. Let's take a look at the shot selection, okay? So when we take a look at the fourth quarter where the Lakers completely collapse, you take a look, these are all the players on the court. So look at Minnesota, look at all the shots they were able to hit in the fourth quarter behind the arc. This is big time. You see about 6 3-point shots right there. Then for the Lakers, they hit 4 of those, and they only made 1 shot from the field. They made 1 mid-range shot here, and then the rest of them are all misses. So this is where Minnesota really came back. I think the Lakers might have scored a total of 13 points in the fourth quarter. So they were just outscored, outplayed, ran over in the fourth quarter. Lakers totally collapsed. Luka and LeBron were awful in the fourth quarter. They were tired. They played like shit. Let's just call it what it is. And to further sort of place some, I want to shine a light on the fact that LeBron was scoreless in the fourth quarter. So he had damn near a triple-double, and people are going to say, oh, he's 40 years old. He almost had a triple-double. Lestat pad got completely cooked by Ant-Man. Ant-Man took on all the assignments. He wanted Luka. He wanted LeBron. He wanted anybody in a Lakers uniform. LeBron went completely scoreless in the fourth quarter, and somebody had the nerve to say, I don't know if it was Windhorse, I can't remember, but we are going to play some sound. They had the nerve to say that LeBron was exerting himself on defense and resting on offense. Yeah. Exerting himself on defense, my ass. That's a joke. Did he try to make defensive stops? Did he try to make, did he have defensive moments? Yes, LeBron always has defensive moments. He's always able to get into that passing lane somehow and grab a steal. He can always, come and block you from behind. He can help defend. I mean, anybody can. Luka helps defend. He's a help defender, but he's not a defender. And they can't defend. Him, Austin Reeves, and Luka Doncic cannot guard a parked car. That's what we have happening with the Lakers. And I want to know where all of the Laker fans and Laker Nation, Faker Nation that was saying that the Lakers had the #1 defense in the NBA. Those people seriously need to get checked. They never had the #1 defense. I don't care what the number says. Use your brain. Use your brain. Seriously. But we are going to hear some sound. I'm going to play like a compilation for you guys of some things where, we're going to hear what analysts were saying this morning. And there were some, look, I'm not going to play Stephen A commenting just because it's obvious, right? We know what he's going to say. We know that he's going to toe the line. Kendrick Perkins pretty much blamed JJ Redick. Everybody has blamed JJ Redick. The only person who didn't was Stephen A. Smith. So Stephen A. Smith made it more about Anthony Edwards, his ascension, and the level of play that the Timberwolves have had. And I do think that they deserve more credit in this situation, but I also think that it's just on both ends. We can praise Anthony Edwards, but we also need to cook LeBron James and the Lakers. And there's so many reasons why. But let's first play the sound, and then we'll react together.
116-113 is your final. And what I did not get a chance to mention over the highlight is that James, Doncic, Reeves, Finney Smith, and Rui Hachimura all played every second of the second half for the Lakers. It is the first time any team made 0 substitutions in any half of any playoff game as far back as we have data for, which means going back to the 96-97 season. Nearly 30 years of data. No team did what J.J. Redick did yesterday.
We certainly played well enough to win, and we gave the effort to win. And, it's not a planned thing to play 5 guys an entire second half. We asked them at the beginning of the fourth quarter, told them we had 2 extra timeouts. If you need a sub, let us know. Those guys gave a lot.
We had a couple opportunities. I don't think fatigue had anything to do with that. We just missed some point blank shots. We were getting to what we wanted to get into. We just weren't able to convert.
That's the right thing to say, I guess, to stand up for your coach. But when you played late Friday night, now you play an early Sunday afternoon, 36 hours between games. LeBron James is 40 years old, and he played the entire second half. The win man is up with us early this morning. Wendy, I'll give you the first crack at it. What was your biggest takeaway from a huge Game 4?
First off, I want to point out, Ant Edwards had 43 points in this game. He's been the best player in the series. That's why the Wolves are ahead 3-1. But really what happened here is J.J. Redick gambled and failed. He went with those guys down the stretch. Luka's 36 hours off of vomiting all day. He ran out of gas late. LeBron is 40 years old playing a game on a Saturday or Sunday afternoon after playing on a Friday night. He ran out of gas late. They can say whatever they want. It was blatant. And that's been the story of this series, Greeny. On Friday night, the Lakers get outscored by 10 points in the fourth quarter because they don't have the depth. Minnesota has it. On Sunday, they get outscored by 13 points in the fourth quarter. LeBron has no points in the fourth. Look, they made a decision at midseason not to go with that Mark Williams trade. J.J. Redick played his starting center 4 minutes in this game. Maybe that will help to play off long term, but the shallowness of this team and the way J.J. Redick decided to manage it down the stretch were huge factors in why the Lakers lost this game.
Well, Booz, you're the one here who has played in this game at the very highest level many times in your life. As you watched it yesterday, do you believe fatigue was a factor in that fourth quarter?
I think it had to be. Obviously, J.J. went with the team that he thought was going to be able to get the win. They had multiple 10-point leads in the second half. We see Tibbs do it every night, but to Wendy's point, it just didn't work out last night. The Minnesota Timberwolves are a much deeper team.
What do you think, Alan? The Tibbs is an interesting comparison. Yeah. People will complain about how much he plays his starters. As I just told you, literally no coach has ever played his starters all 24 minutes, literally every second of an entire half of a playoff game.
So you're saying not even Tibbs would do that?
Not even Tibbs would do it.
But look, with all of that said, they still should have won the game. With all that said, they still should have won the game. It was right there. We just showed you the highlights. There were moments there for them to win it, including the fact that Minnesota decided not to foul up 3, to allow a 3 in the corner, that if that goes down, you're going to overtime. Now, the fatigue factor could have factored in there.
Yeah, they're not winning overtime, though.
No, understood, Wendy. I get it. The extra 5 minutes wasn't going to benefit the Lakers. But the point is, the game was there to be won, despite all that. And J.J. Redick made it clear who he trusted and who he's going to go with and what felt like a must-win game for them. And this offseason is going to be for the Lakers, obviously. They're going to chase every big man they can find and bring somebody in that's over 6'8" that can help them at the center position.
I get that part of it, and I agree. And this goes back to, Wendy, I remember when this trade for Luka was made, the feeling here, you said it, many others said it, was this isn't the year that it's going to, sort of bear fruit. They still need another move or two, and that's what we're talking about. That said, they're in this playoff series. They've been in the games that they lost. They had every opportunity, certainly, to win games 3 and 4 on the road. Do you still feel like they have a chance to come back and survive this series against a very, very good Minnesota team?
I would never, vote against Luka or LeBron doing this. I would just point out they get 2 days off now. And the game 5 is on Wednesday, but then it's Wednesday, Friday, Sunday with travel to and from Minneapolis in there. So you're asking them an incredible amount with no depth. In the fourth quarter, again, of these last 2 games, the Wolves have outscored them in the paint 20-4. They have no depth. They have no size. They need their 3 starters to be brilliant. They basically need their 3-star players to be 3 of the best 4 players in the series. That just has not happened. It could happen over these next 3 games, but the margin for error is non-existent.
We're seeing it, and there's no voice that carries more weight, I guess, than that of Magic Johnson, who tweeted, I don't know if it's smart to play LeBron and Luka the entire second half after only having 1 day of rest between games 3 and 4. When we needed LeBron to take over in the fourth quarter, he couldn't. He scored 0 points in the fourth. And you're wondering, well, just how rare is it for LeBron to score 0 points in the fourth? Well, I'm glad you asked. Yesterday was the 164th career playoff game in which LeBron has played at least 10 minutes in the fourth quarter. It's just the 3rd time he scored 0 points. He had a plus-minus of -13 in the fourth quarter, which by definition just means they were outscored by 13 because he was on the floor for every second of it. Again, he's 40 years old, Booz. It is not a criticism to say that he was brilliant on Friday night trying to carry that team basically by himself with Luka having been sick all day. It was It was tough to watch LeBron trying to gut that out in that fourth quarter yesterday when it was obvious he just had nothing left.
No, Brown was outstanding yesterday. Obviously, he did a great job, triple-double alert almost every game he plays. It's just tough when you know that you need him down the stretch to score points to give Luka a little bit off. Luka also had a great game, but they both didn't have enough. They didn't have enough juice at the end of the game.
Final word on it, Alan.
Well, they were seeking out Luka. They were picking on Luka. They were doing what everybody is going to start to try to do with the Celtics showed you in the finals last year, is put Luka in every type of action defensively and try to exploit his inability to defend, especially one-on-one. And that's why when you talk about formulas to come back and win the series, how do you protect him and hide him so that he's not in those situations? Minnesota is a team that's got a lot of length, size, and toughness, and they're going to keep going at him.
And we'll say it again, and Wendy's open by saying it, and we'll have more time to say it as the day goes on. The best player in the series has been Anthony Edwards, and at this moment, he may be the best player on the floor in the series, regardless of the circumstances. We'll have much more time to get into all of the rest of the dramatic playoff action. Luka Doncic, Austin Reeves, Dorian Finney-Smith, and Rui Hachimura all played the entire second half for the Lakers. It is the first time any team.
Wow. So what do you guys think of this? You know, will the Lakers win in 7 games? That's a question that I want you guys to think about. Right now, I want to react to this sound. I mean, Windhorse is right. Anthony Edwards is the best player, I would say, on the floor in this series. It's not even close. I also think that it's criminal that JJ Redick decided to not give them a rest. And he obviously was super panicked in this series. He was panicked. JJ Redick, to me, not playing anybody from your bench, not giving your starters a rest, that says that you were completely pressed. He was scared to lose. He didn't know what to do. He froze up. When your coach freezes up in the clutch, what are the players going to do? LeBron choked in the fourth quarter. He didn't score a point. He passed the ball every time he got it. Choked. In game 3, he hit a shot off the side of the backboard after hitting loads of threes. When it comes down to the stretch, anything less than a minute, it's almost like LeBron cannot make the shot. He's worked on his shot. He got a lot slimmer. His arms are smaller. His shoulders are not as wide as they once were, so he can actually knock down shots. And he's been working on his shots at 40 years old. His whole career couldn't shoot worth a lick, but now at 40, he's throwing down these shots. But of course, down the stretch in the fourth quarter, he's going to collapse. That's what we've seen. That's what we know him to do. And that's what he did. What does Skip Bayless say? Chosen one becomes the frozen one. That's what happens to LeBron James in the fourth quarter when it's time for him to deliver. We can count on that. I just think it's really interesting in that in the history, I think going back, for almost 40 years, 1996, that a coach has not done this before. So to me, this goes to JJ Redick's lack of experience. I don't think that he took a risk. You know, I heard Stephen A say that he took a risk. Windhorse said that he took a risk and he failed. Yeah, he failed, but it wasn't just that he failed. When you make a decision, whether it's in business, whether it's in sports, whatever it is, when you make a decision for your job, I believe that you have a fiduciary responsibility to do what's best for your business, your company, for your job, right? And so to me, JJ Redick set himself up for failure by not giving them a break. LeBron's going to get gassed. He's 40 years old. He gets gassed when he does get a break. He still can't play down the stretch in the fourth quarter. He's still too tired in the second half, even with rest breaks. Luka Doncic is fat. He is playing with a dad bod in the NBA. How the hell is he going to play an entire half? Can you make that make sense? And he's 25. He's 25 years old, but as soon as the second half hits, he's tired. He's out of breath. He can't run up and down the court. He's rocking a dad bod in the NBA. That's what he is, okay? Luka dad bod Doncic, Luka donut Doncic, Luka hookah, whatever you want to call him, and he's still a great NBA player. Offensively, he goes off. But he can't defend. He can't move his feet. He cannot continue to explode typically in the second half. He has to do it in the first half. He's got to beat you in the first and second quarter in order for you to be beat. That's just what it is. But this is a guy that JJ wanted to play for the entire second half with no break. Make that make sense. Lard ass Luka, he wanted to play for an entire second half. Makes no sense at all. So those are my thoughts. I'll read some comments from you guys, and then we will certainly move along. Don't remind me of 2016. LeBron purposely tried to injure Anthony Edwards. He tried to roll over his leg to injure him. I just, I don't know how true that is. And you would think LeBron's supposed to be really smart. He just can't defend anymore. He was on the floor, I would say from game 1 to game 4, he's been on the floor so much. He's like a 2-year-old. He's like a petulant child with terrible tools throwing himself on the floor. It's ridiculous to watch, honestly. His attempt at playing defense is like making these fake hustle plays that make it look to JJ Redick like he's trying to make it look to his teammates like he's trying to defend. When we still see him standing around, we still see him getting blown by on defense. We still see him leaving his man completely unattended to. That's what we see. So when these random moments in the game pop up where he's throwing himself on the floor, I'm not impressed. Yes, Frankie, the frozen one. Salute to everybody in the chat. Do me a favor and let's get these likes up. We have 223 people watching. Let's get to 200 likes. Can we do that? It's not that serious. I see you, Alexander. Shout out to all the mods. You guys always hold me down, and I really appreciate it. Looks like we might have gotten a super chat from Wise Guy 23. Thank you so much for the $2 super chat. Ant-Man 24 minutes. JJ is a confusing man. JJ is super confusing. I think he is just confused, and I think that he really wasn't ready for this job and this assignment to be the head coach of the Los Angeles Lakers. When you have a know-it-all, everybody, the entire world is going to be looking for you to fall flat on your face. And that's what happens to people like JJ Redick. They typically do. They typically do fall flat on their face because why? Because they were a know-it-all. They insulted other people. JJ Redick even decided that he was going to line Darvin up to get him fired, right? He lined him up, went on Mind the Game, did all this nonsense with LeBron, complained about Darvin Ham, talked about all the adjustments that he would have made and how Darvin Ham didn't make any adjustments. Mind you, I'm curious, where was JJ Redick's adjustments? In the entire second half, he just went with his starters. At no point did he have an answer for Jaden McDaniels. At no point did he have an answer for Naz Reid. At no point did he have an answer for Ant-Man or anybody on the floor. In every single game, a different player from the Minnesota Timberwolves had a game against the Lakers. Jaden McDaniels had a career high against the Lakers, and that's usually what happens. Somebody who's not a superstar always has a career high on the Lakers because why? You have 3 starters that cannot defend. So if somebody's looking to make a name for themselves, play against the Lakers. You'll be able to do it there. Salute to you, Brand117, for the $2 super chat. Hey, what's up? I'm really happy to have you here. Thanks for watching. The real Donald Trump, thank you so much for the $10 super chat. LeBrick, the bricklayer. Luka got fatter. LaDiddy James, still the GOAT flopper. Wolves in 5. You guys are too much. Brand117, I don't know if this was a double tap, but thank you so much for the $2 super chat and salute to you. Really appreciate you. Guys, I just, JJ Redick in this hire, a guy who, look at how he answers, in the post-game press conference, he's scratching his neck, he's squinting his eyes. He looks totally deflated. During his post-game press conference, he was full of excuses, guys. Let me also remind you that so him, Luka, and LeBron all had something smart to say about Luka getting tripped at the end of the game. Oh, well, you got tripped. So what? This is the playoffs. Step up, play big. It shouldn't have come down to that play. If you want to cry about that play, is that what the game should have really come down to? What I did appreciate about Luka is that he said there was no excuse to lose the game. All in all, there was absolutely no excuse to play the game. Both LeBron and Luka, they defended JJ Redick playing them these amounts of minutes. which I think is so funny, right? Because you lose the game. When you lose in the playoffs, all the other seasons, it's always the coach's fault. But since LeBron hired JJ Redick, it's no longer his fault, right? You hire a drunk, no big deal. DUI, no big deal. JJ Coke fiend, no big deal. No big deal. Look at him. Squinting. This is not a professional. This isn't an NBA coach. This is somebody who's completely inexperienced, that had no business becoming the head coach of the Lakers. And, you know, I have the same questions that I always have. I have the same questions that I always have for LeBron, for JJ Redick. You know, we have somebody who's this is a DEI hire. What you guys are looking at, this is the face of DEI. So I want to know, who's going to tell JJ Redick? Who's going to tell him? Let me know. Who's going to tell him that he took Darvin Ham's job? He stole his job. He stole a job from a black coach. LeBron James helped him to do this. So who's going to tell him?
Who's going to tell him that the job he's currently seeking might just be one of those black jobs, those black jobs, one of those black jobs, those black jobs, one of those black jobs, those black jobs, one of those. Who's going to tell him that the job might be one of those black jobs?
I'm here to do my black job. I'm here to do my black job.
Those black jobs, one of those. Who's going to tell him that the job might be one of those black jobs?
Attorney General.
Might be one of those black jobs.
Vice President.
Might be one of those black jobs.
President.
Might be one of those. Who's gonna tell him that the job might be one of those black jobs?
Attorney General.
Might be one of those black jobs.
Vice President.
Might be one of those black jobs.
President Kamala Harris.
Might be one of those black jobs. Those black jobs. One of those black jobs. Black jobs.
I love that song, guys, and I just have to play it every time we talk about JJ Redick and the fact that he stole Darvin Ham's job. The media, the mainstream media, was sitting here telling us the Lakers are going to the finals. They're winning the title this year. LeBron's going to get his 5th ring. My ass. They are out of here in the first round. Down 3-1 in the first round. Do you guys think the Lakers are going to win in 7 games? I had them winning in 5 games. Then it went to 6 games. Now I have them losing the damn series. So the refs are going to have to work overtime to get LeBron and the Lakers to win 3 games in a row. They're not the better team. They don't have the depth. Their bench cannot deliver. JJ Redick knows the bench can't deliver. That's why he won't even play them. They are SOL. They're out of gas. We did get another super chat. I want to thank Dante Reeves, aka Anime and Manja King. It's about to be a funeral Wednesday because Anthony Edwards and the Timberwolves are about to send them boys to Cancun with Memphis. I could not agree more. I just think this is so hilarious. Everybody was laughing at the Mavericks. Nico Harrison. Oh, he made a colossal mistake. He's the worst GM we've ever seen. Really? And look, people are not going to blame Luka Doncic for this playoff loss. They're going to blame LeBron. What they might even do is blame JJ Redick, say that, or what they're not going to do, maybe they won't blame. They'll make excuses. They'll say this was JJ Redick's first year. The expectation was not for him to go to the finals, although Darvin Ham went to the Western Conference Finals in his first year. Western Conference Finals, that was the bar when JJ first got here. But when you get a supposed generational player like Luka Doncic, you should be able to get to the finals if that's the case. You have 2 superstars in both of those players that are available to play, get them to the finals. That became the new bar. And he's getting knocked out in the first round. To me, the Lakers need to be firing him, but they won't. They're going to give him his whole 4 years, I bet, to continue to make mistakes and get knocked out in the first round. We have another one. Thank you, Brand117, for the $5 super chat. JJ Redick should not even got a job in the first place. I agree. He doesn't belong an NBA coach. He was coaching 4th graders, 8 and 9-year-olds. How does that equate to NBA coach? We sat there, we congratulated him. Well, LeBron congratulated him for 50 wins, and voila, they're about to get knocked out in the first round. They are a first-round knockout. The real Donald Trump. Thanks again for the $5 super chat. LeBron takes Balco juice. Luka drinks bacon fat. JJ Redick is a drug crybaby. Lakers in 5, 2034. You guys are just hilarious tonight. I am having so much fun cooking the Lakers. You guys make it so much fun for me, and I really appreciate you. So just to check in, did we like the video? I need you guys. Smash that like button for me. We have 260 people in the chat with us right now watching. So I need 260 likes. Let's jump it up. Let's run it up for me. But Brand117, thank you for the $5 super chat. More like Steph will be winning his 5th ring if possible. LMAO. I would love to see it. That instantly takes LeBron out of any GOAT conversation for me. And he never was in it, but I think that it should take him out of the GOAT conversation for anybody. But somehow delusional LeBron fans will figure out how to put him back in there, right? Salute to Keith Cunningham for the $5 super chat. LeBron's situation, Luka's stomach irritation, Uncle Shay Shay's essay allegations, T-Wolves in 5. Facts, facts, facts. That must have been why. I'll get to that part in a few topics, but anyhow, let's go right ahead and move along to the Knicks versus the Pistons. And after that topic, I'll take a phone call on that one just so that we can cook on the playoffs before we move into our other topics that are not specifically about the games. And this will be short. I mean, the Knicks versus the Pistons, like I said, guys, that was just an incredible series for me. And how did the Pistons lose game 4? How did they lose game 4? I think that there's a lot of speculation about that. There was a controversial call at the end. I believe it was Tim Hardaway went up for a 3 and he got bumped. He got bumped in the air. I would say that contact was made when I watched it. When I watched it over, I'm like, that's a foul. But the fact of the matter is that the refs didn't call anything the entire game. So I don't really care because they were consistent throughout the game. They didn't call anything. And I don't think that the Pistons, JT Bickerstaff, or anyone really has room to cry. You weren't crying when you were hacking the Knicks all throughout the game. The Pistons, they should have won, but that shouldn't have been the determining factor. It really shouldn't have. It shouldn't have come down to that, in my opinion. And I have to say, this series has been so physical, so competitive. I mean, Karl Anthony Towns for me to see Karl Anthony Towns with the level of aggression that he's had since playing for New York it's a joy for me to see, quite frankly. I think that he's playing much better. I thought that he was a soft cat, but it seems like he's a tough cat. It seems that he's really about that life as it pertains to being a part of the New York squad, defending and really showing that he can be a legitimate big man. I do think that he's not always consistent, but there have been many moments in this game where he's stepped up physically and he's showing them that he's not going to be ran all over. So salute to Karl Anthony Towns. Cade Cunningham, I think, is a very special player on the Detroit Pistons. I love the Detroit team. They have a mix of young players and veterans that have been really, really just helping their team and their squad move forward in a really great way. And that their new head coach, I think, is just quite outstanding. And I really love the culture of the Pistons and New York. I think this was a great pairing, and it wound up perfectly that they are matched up against each other in the first round. I wish that they had gotten, some of the other teams maybe so that we could see them deeper in the series play against each other. But hey, I'm really just happy for great basketball. And Colin Cowherd, he had quite a bit to say about the physicality in this series. And I want to play this for you guys, and then we'll go ahead and react. 1 second. Should be right here.
Chipping away, roster versatility, depth, and chipping away. All right, let's talk about the Knicks beating Detroit 94-93. I thought the Pistons were the better team, and I thought they should have won the game. That last call, the NBA now acknowledges it was a foul. Let me talk about this. If you look at the box score, it looks like Detroit won. The Knicks shot much better from three-point land. Other than that, field goal percentage, 43-37 Detroit. Free throw advantage. Detroit was great at the free throw line. The Knicks were 11 of 18. Detroit dominates defensive rebounding, but the Knicks had twice as many three-point shots. There's your ball game. Let me. Cade Cunningham, by the way, I'll say it again. He's going to be a top 10 player in the league next year. He got a great look to win that game. Ball bounced around, went to the corner, no foul call, but Cunningham got a great look. He can create his own shot. He doesn't need to pick and roll. Guy, good handles, big body, pro athlete, stop and start game, very fluid athlete. Cade's the real deal. Former #1 pick out of Oklahoma State. He's put 3 and 4 years into the league, and you're seeing his game is now very, very refined. So in terms of the last call, it was a bump and a foul. So I'm a huge believer in letting the players play in the postseason. I think it's more intense. I think it's better for the fans. I think you're not going back and forth parading to the free throw line. I just think it's really intense physical basketball when LeBron and Ant are just banging on each other. It's just captivating. And this game, they allowed a lot of physicality because these are not necessarily beautiful offensive teams, right? Like Boston or Oklahoma City or Cleveland. The Knicks are a feisty physical team, and Detroit probably needs another player to get, a little more aesthetically pleasing offensively. So this is going to be a tug of war. The downside to allowing physical play has always been, one, it can create fights. You don't want that. But the real issue is, obviously the league, either through memo or through discussion, has told the guys, let them play, let the players decide the games. And it's much better basketball. This is why historically veteran NBA teams have done so well in the playoffs over younger teams. You're watching the Clippers and the Nuggets, which is an incredible series. It's just 10-year vets going back and forth, and they understand it. The issue becomes when you allow that sort of physical play, and I did think the Pistons outplayed them, and I'm not necessarily sure. Usually in a playoff series, you get to game 4 or 5, you kind of feel like there's a better team. I'm not sure. I think the Knicks are better. I don't feel like by much. Obviously that Cat 3-point bomb, Brunson hit a couple of huge clutch shots. That's the difference, a shot here, a shot there. The downside to allowing physical officiating is in the last minute and a half of a game. So, these psychologically, the refs are letting them go. But we do expect on final shots or the final 2 to 3 possessions, you got to tighten the belt a little bit. If a guy's brushing an elbow, fans are like, whoa, that's a foul. So, the psychology of it is you're allowing for 3 hours this incredibly intense banging and physical play and letting stuff go all over the floor. But then what do you do in the last 2 to 3 possessions per team? It's like, hey, earlier in the game, it doesn't change the outcome. It just changes the score when you allow physicality. In the last 2 to 3 possessions, it can change the outcome of a game. And there's an expectation, you got to call that bump. So I don't think it's easy to officiate NBA playoff games in the last 2 minutes of a playoff game. I think it's like, you get to these NFL playoff games with pass interference. You go to a Super Bowl, they let a lot go. Very rarely will you see a lot of penalties in a Super Bowl or a conference championship. Let them play. But if you get to the final drive of a game in the Super Bowl or conference championship and there's clear grabbing, do you let that go too? That's not just a call. That's an outcome changer. And so I think it's very difficult to officiate these games for the NBA in the last couple of minutes. And we've had multiple controversies in the Lakers-Minnesota game, the Clippers-Nuggets game, the Pistons-Knicks games, where you're like, are you going to call that? Are you going to call that? And so it was a missed officiating. It was an officiating gaffe. I think New York's going to close this series out, but you got to feel great if you're the Pistons. You got your superstar kid Cunningham. You got a couple of veterans. It's not the prettiest lineup, but they're well coached. They fight like hell, and it's been just so interesting to watch this series. I got to tell you, that Cat 3, one of the shots of the playoffs. Aaron Gordon's dunked to win it for the Nuggets, probably the shot of the playoffs. That Cat bomb, well, he's such a gifted offensive player and so limited defensively, and he's a quirky player. But, Rockets Warriors, Steph put on a classic, Jalen Green, Kate Van Dyke back down to earth. All these playoff games have been so fun. All right, let's get into John Middlecoff.
Colin Cowherd, I take issue with what he said because only for the fact that I felt that I don't think that you have to call those things at the end of the game. So what does it look like if you haven't been calling it all game, you're all of a sudden going to start calling in the final moments? That doesn't make any sense. Refs must be consistent throughout the game. So I thought that was a completely idiotic take. Completely idiotic, and it was very light in comparison to the rest of the fouls that were happening in the game. That little mid-air bump was nothing. It was nothing in comparison. The way they were mauling the Knicks, they were allowed to hack each other. It was on both sides. They just allowed everything. Everything was a go. So I don't feel bad about those last moments of the game. No, Colin Cowherd is absolutely wrong. You got to be consistent, and everybody knows that. It's a very common thing. Referees must be consistent throughout the game. If you're not going to call it for one, you don't call it for the other. If you're not going to call it all game, you don't call it at the end of the game. So I disagree with that. I will also say that we do want to see fights. That's exactly what we want to see. We want to see fights in the NBA. We want to see physicality. We want to see the level of physicality that creates that jawing, that creates those, those moments where the ego comes out. We actually do want to see NBA fights. Do we want to see people get beaten up and ejected from the game? No. So that part, I get what he's saying. Hey, we don't really want that to happen, right? But we don't mind seeing a fight or two. Sorry. I'm here for it. Now, I do want to open up the phone lines. I want to hear from you guys. Tell me what you think. Will the Lakers win in 7? Tell me how you believe that the Pistons lost the game. Was it that bad call at the end of the game, or were there some other things that they could have done to win? So I'm going to take just one phone call on this, and then we're going to move on. But call in, guys. Talk to me nice. I want to know what you guys think. I want to hear from you. I'll read some comments in the meantime. Looks like we got, so I saw SMT Media, Cat is definitely not like that. So look, I agree with you. I think he's increasing his level of physicality and aggression. That's what I'm going to say. He's not like that. Let me say that, because NBA players still don't respect him. You have Draymond Green running his mouth all over town about Cat, how he's not like that, et cetera, et cetera. So I'm with you there. He's not like that. I never believed he was, and I still don't. But he's increasing his level of aggression, and I'm happy for that. Thank you for calling Sports Tea. Talk to me nice.
Hey, what's going on, Dom?
Hey, T-Bert, what's going on? Cook, so I have 2 questions for you. The first one, will the Lakers win in 7 games? And the second is, how did the Pistons lose this game?
All right, first question. Will the Lakers win? No. This
Well,
series
why?
is
Why do you
over.
feel that way?
They cooked. I mean, at the end of the day, they just cooked. I mean, when they first got the trade for Luka, you know, you and I talked on air and everything, and we all said they got 3 players that can't play any day. And what's coming back to haunt them? No defense, right?
Every
So
time.
I think they're cooked. And your second question, was it about the Knicks?
Yes.
Oh,
How did the Pistons lose in game 4? Do you believe that it was that call at the end? Do you believe that should have gone to the Pistons and them being given that chance to win? Or like, what do you think?
I mean, I think that was obvious. It was an obvious foul. Yeah, it should have been called, and that probably would have changed the series, you know, to 2-2 instead of 3-1. But I'm in a more favorable light of looking at it as you got to play the whole game. You know, one play doesn't determine, you know, doesn't sum up the full game. The last couple of minutes, Detroit had a bunch of opportunities to, you know, put the game away, you know, seize momentum. And Kate Cunningham had 2 crucial turnovers, 2 crucial ones that really turned the game around for New York. And then New York capitalized on both of those turnovers. So it's a lot of things that led to the loss. But just blaming one thing, I'm not really a fan of that, because, you know, they had 48 minutes, you know, to seize that game, and they didn't. And unfortunately, it was a missed call by the ref, which could have changed the game. So
Yeah.
that's my take on that. And let me say this, Dom, I told you probably a week ago, relax. Calm down. Your Knicks got it in the bag.
You did
said,
tell me
listen,
that. You did. I think Detroit is actually a better team, though. So I can't help my actual basketball opinion that I think Detroit Pistons are the better team. I just think that the Knicks made better decisions down the stretch. They hit really big shots. Brunson came up super clutch in the 4th quarter. In fact, Jalen Brunson is not being given the credit that he deserves for being the most clutch player in 4th quarter situations.
Yeah, he's super clutch, but I will say this: like, I'm not a Knicks fan, but you know, I'm gonna help you root for him. You know what I mean? So I got your back. But this series in the bag, like I said, y'all got that covered. Next series could be an issue. I don't see y'all getting out of that. But let's get back to this real quick. Remember, I told you like a week ago, this playoff run against the Pistons, this series, is all based on Cat. When Cat plays like a big dog, y'all beat the Pistons. When he plays like a meerkat, y'all lost.
It's true.
If Cat comes to play, y'all are going to beat them with no problem. It should be a gentleman's sweep. If he comes to play the next game, gentleman's sweep. If he turns to a meerkat, y'all going to do another game after that. And so Cat is the whole key. And last thing on Cat. So I remember a couple months ago, we spoke on air about who won the trade between Cat and Julius. And I said, both teams won, right? And it's looking like it still is the same. Both teams won. Julius Randle is balling out for them, and Cat is balling out for y'all. So both teams have won. So it was a good trade. Great trade on the Knicks.
Can I ask this question? How is it a great trade and how is it even if the Knicks get bounced out in the second round like they have been getting bounced out and the Timberwolves don't make it to the finals?
That's a good question. We just gotta wait and see because it looks like
wait and see until when. So if the Timberwolves don't make it to the finals and the Knicks don't make it past the second round, which is the same place that they were in before the trade, then how did they win the trade?
You make a valid point there. I'll say we'll unpack that. We'll, it's a little frozen. Let's let it thaw out right now. Let's let it thaw out.
It's not always about winning titles, right? It could be about chemistry.
Right.
It could be about the locker room. It could be some HR issue. You never know, right? But the whole reason why teams made trades, the whole reason why we change personnel is to hopefully have a title run. So if the Timberwolves don't make it to the Western Conference Finals, if they're bounced the next round, then was the trade even good for them? If the Knicks don't make it out of the second round, or imagine if they lose 3 games in a row to the Pistons. So if they lose the next 3 games in a row and then lose the series to the Pistons, then that means if they were a first round knockout, they went from winning a playoff series to winning nothing. And the Timberwolves would potentially have gone from being in the Western Conference Finals to not. So I just,
Dom,
again,
you're right.
to me,
you're right.
To your point, we got to wait and see. And again, I don't know if the Timberwolves go to the finals, then they won the trade. If the Knicks get knocked out in the next round, they didn't. They lost the trade, right? But if they both don't go further than what they went last year, then they both lost the trade.
And let me ask you this. What if they both go further than they both did last year? Then is it back to what I said?
Exactly. Then they both won the trade. So that's why I just feel like I can't ascertain. It's a prediction. So I predict that they both lost the trade because they're both not going to get any better than they did last year as far as a playoff berth is concerned, as far as, a playoff, a title run is concerned. So to me, that's the reason why we make trades. And if we can't tie it back to the results, then they both lost the trade. So that's what I'm thinking is going to happen. That's my prediction. But if they go further, if the Timberwolves go further, then somebody won the trade. And I would hope that they didn't spend empty calories on this trade. We'll see.
Absolutely. Now, let me ask you a question too. Well, I'm a phrase something to you. Let me know if you agree with it. I feel like when it comes to Cat being in New York, playing for the New York Knicks, it seems like he's getting less scrutiny than he did in Minnesota, which is allowing Cat to actually play his game. Because in Minnesota, he was getting killed. I'm not saying it was bad press and he didn't deserve it. I'm just saying he got a lot of negative press, which probably, got in his head mentally and didn't allow him to play. Here, he's balling out. He's getting good press. And it seems like he's just able to be himself.
Well,
do you agree with that assessment?
Here's what I'll say about that. I mean, Karl Anthony Towns is from New Jersey, so that's why they call him the Big Bodega. He's from the East Coast, so he has that connection to New York City, obviously sort of being from there, but not really. And then additionally, there's other problems on the Knicks that kind of shield Karl Anthony Towns from that scrutiny. So,
agreed.
Tom Thibodeau and his coaching and his lack of, having a solid rotation and substitution pattern, that has been something that's criticized for a long time. The fact that Dante DiVincenzo is not on the team has also been something that has been criticized by, like Leon Rose and Rick Brunson. They're getting a lot of the criticism. So there's those kinds of things. Also, the Knicks were being investigated. They were being investigated for Rick Brunson's salary and his position with the team and the Jalen Brunson trade. So all of these things were kind of shielding Karl Anthony Towns, I think, from criticism. And the difference between, let's say, him being on the Minnesota Timberwolves is that dynamic was, who can we blame to shield Anthony Edwards from criticism? He's the star of the team, so all of his teammates are obviously going to be at fault. Right? We blame Rudy Gobert. We blame everybody else oftentimes if the Timberwolves don't win. Now the Knicks are more of a team. They're just more of like, they've got a team. It's not, they don't have a superstar on that team. Jalen Brunson
Right.
is not
I
considered a
agree.
superstar. So Carl Anthony
Yep.
doesn't get that criticism. But the reason why, and the real reason why, is because he's defending. In New York City, and just so you know, the New York media only criticizes you if you don't play hard. They don't criticize
Right.
you because you lose. They criticize if they believe that you didn't give the effort. When they're because New Yorkers really go to the games and they watch. They don't watch highlights.
hmm
They watch these games. So when they're watching these games and they see you not running back on defense, if you turn the ball over and you don't run back, you're going to get killed in the newspaper. You're going to be on the cover of the
Right.
Daily News or the New York Post, and they're going to be they're going to light you on fire. Carmelo Anthony, when he came to the Knicks, he didn't defend, and he got lit on fire on a nightly basis. There was a very long time where we were lighting. People don't know. People praise Carmelo so much, but they don't remember what the newspapers were saying when he didn't defend. People have no idea.
Yeah.
And what really is
Me.
important to New Yorkers and New York fans, it's about trying hard. It's not even about winning. We just need to see the fight. New Yorkers want you to fight. Win or lose, we need to know that you fought. We need to know that your heart doesn't pump Kool-Aid. When we smell that fear, we pounce all over it. That's the
I
difference
definitely
between the
I
New
agree with
York.
that.
That's the difference between New York sports culture and anywhere else.
I know you got to let me go, but let me just end on this New York note about what you said about the New York fan base. Me being so close to New York, being here in Philly, and I've been to New York a bunch of times. New York fan, even though I'm not a New York fan or no,
It's the same thing as Philly. Philly hates when you don't try, and they will kill you for it.
and exactly. And what I've seen with New York, the difference between New York fans and Philly fans is, I feel like New York fans are more, they're more knowledgeable, and they really watch the game, right?
Oh, yeah.
And New York, they just want a fighter. They want a brawler. Whether you get knocked out or you win, they will love you to the end of time. So Philly is like that too, but the difference is, I feel like New York fans, they have a higher IQ when it comes to the sport that we're talking about, and that's the difference. So I'll leave it there. Dom, you cooking, you on fire, do your thing, twin, and I love it.
Thank you so much, Tiber, for calling in. I really appreciate you, buddy, and I hope that you're going to stay in the audience and engage the rest of the chat.
All right, talk to you.
All righty, bye-bye. All right, guys, that was a really great call. I'll read some of the comments that came through. You guys are so funny. Oh my gosh. Checkball Sports, thank you so much for the $4.99 super chat. Streets are saying if LeBron comes back from 3-1 at 40 years old, then there is no GOAT debate. Fanboys are literally a joke. Look, I already know that that's going to be the narrative. Oh, if LeBron comes back, he's the first 40-year-old to come back 3-1 in the first goddamn round. Please miss me with the nonsense. LeBron's not coming back 3-1 unless the refs help him. So they can win the series. It could be Lakers in 7, but it would only be because the NBA and the officials got them there. There's absolutely no way they're going to come and win these 3 games back to back. I don't see it. Not with the way Anthony Edwards is playing, not with the way that the Timberwolves are playing. What are they going to do? Run under Anthony Edwards' legs and really injure him this time? That's what they'd have to do. They have no interior play. Soul Player, I predict the refs will bail the Lakers out in game 5. I mean, we all predict that, right? So, and once they win game 5, then it looks like a series and it looks like they can come back. I don't see it, but anything's possible with the NBA, the way they lie, the way they collude, the way that they rig the sport. So very, very interesting. Thank you so much, The Real Donald Trump, for the $2 super chat. LeBron is an emotional lesbian walrus. Interesting. I don't love this comment. I don't know what a lesbian walrus has to do with LeBron and him playing basketball. And I don't think that he should be compared to lesbians or really anybody. Let's just keep it. Let's try to keep it basketball. Let's not offend lesbians or anyone gay who might be watching here. We are friendly and inclusive to everybody. Okay. Check Ball Sports. Oh yeah, we read this one already. But thank you so much for the super chat. You guys are awesome and really funny. Okay. And again, can somebody describe to me what a lesbian walrus is? I don't even know what that is. Anyhow, guys, let's get the likes up. We have 200 people watching, 200 plus people watching. I need you guys to smash the like button for me. Yeah, 223. It's a good amount. We've got, okay, we're almost there. Five more likes to 200. So smash the like button. Don't forget. And we're going to go ahead and move on to the next topic. And that is the Steph versus LeBron topic. I know that this seems probably a little weird to do this now, and I felt like I sort of missed this. I caught it, and I didn't really pay much attention to it because of everything going on in just the sports world. There was a lot going down. The LeBron versation, LeBron and Stephen A. Smith were battling and beefing, and just all these narratives were coming out that we had to keep talking about, the mind the game nonsense, which, you know, that's not going to stop. But I just kind of let this topic sort of gloss over me, and we didn't really address it. But a couple of weeks ago, I would say maybe a week or two ago, perhaps, Paul Pierce, he was on the Speak Show with Joy Taylor, Rick Bucher, Keyshawn Johnson, and they were chatting, and Paul Pierce just sort of put this out there, and he said flat out, you know, things are going to get uncomfortable for LeBron fans and the LeBron GOAT debate if Steph Curry is to win a fifth ring. How can we say that LeBron is a GOAT if Steph Curry has clearly been more dominant in the LeBron era? If Steph Curry was unanimous MVP and the supposed GOAT didn't get one MVP vote in his prime, LeBron was still in his prime when Steph Curry was given the unanimous MVP. And for him not to get one single vote and to be called the GOAT, it's just like, when did we ever dispute who the best player in the league was for a Michael Jordan, a Magic Johnson, for any of these people that were the all-time greats? They were the best while they were playing. So it begs the question, is Steph Curry the greatest in the LeBron James era? Is he really the GOAT of this generation, if we want to use that term? Is he the greatest player that we've seen play since Michael Jordan retired, since Kobe Bryant retired? I do want to play some sound of what Paul Pierce said and the discussion surrounding that. It is a little bit long, so bear with me, but it is a good discussion that I want us to have here today. And I think you guys are going to enjoy it. So let me play it for you, and then we'll react.
Joy, Key, Rick, if Steph Curry wins the championship or one more championship, let's say this year, gets the finals MVP, we are going to have some very, 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 very uncomfortable conversations. You know why? Because that's going to mean in the LeBron era, he would have won his fifth title with pretty much three different squads: the pre-KD, the KD, and the after KD. And then three of those championships he would have won without a top 75 player. In my eyes, he would have won this era with LeBron. So then that tells me, is he greater than LeBron? He won the era. He had, in the LeBron era, 5 chips. In the LeBron era, and the unanimous MVP. That got to hold some kind of weight. It's never been done. If we're talking about Bron as the greatest player, and a player in your era, in any year you were in your prime, won unanimously without you getting a vote, it's going to shake something up. We're going to start putting Steph up there with Michael Jordan. What? Seriously. If he wins one more, think about that. He wins the era. In the LeBron era, he won more. Whose era is this? LeBron, KD, and Curry. This is that era, right? Yeah. He gets 5 championships, and Bron stays with 4, and a unanimous MVP. It's going to get real uncomfortable, I promise you.
Would a championship mean more for LeBron or Steffi?
I would say it'll mean more for Steph.
You can keep.
I just need you on my side.
No, I'm with you. I'm with you. I think it would be not controlling me.
It's Steph. Certainly Steph.
Certainly Steph.
Certainly. Wow. You got to think he's still in that conversation. No, I was already there. You got to think, Rick, LeBron is already in that conversation, right? LeBron, Michael, who's going to be, Steph is still climbing the hierarchy. He's like Paul was just saying. He's just like, history just shows he changed the way they shoot the basketball in the game. Everybody from AAU Little League to all the way up through the pros now. Everybody's shooting half court because of him. Paul laid all the championships out to you, the MVP, just everything. And he did it before KD, after KD, and then he might do it again after KD. You see what I'm saying? So it's like, it's him 100% for me.
Yeah, for me, it's Steph as well. And it's largely because he would still be recognized as the undisputed best player on this championship team. He's going to get all the recognition, right? And with LeBron, a strong case can be made. It's Luka's team. They're playing through Luka now. And LeBron's playing a slightly different role. So if this is about winning another championship to elevate or to strengthen his argument about where he is with Jordan, I don't know that you give this a full championship measure. You don't say that this is 5 championships to Jordan's 6. You're going to say maybe 4.5, or because Jordan never won one as a number 2. And depending on how this
Who
goes,
would be the number 2?
number 2,
It wouldn't be Curry. Curry would be the number 1.
yeah, no. I mean, with the Lakers,
you're
Luka's
talking
the
about
number
LeBron.
1,
My
and
bad.
LeBron's the
You're
number
talking
2,
about
right?
LeBron.
Nobody's going to say that Jimmy or that Draymond or anybody else is going to get it. So, and I agree with you. I never want to say
they're going to push LeBron down.
Yeah, it's going to hurt.
It's going to shake up the list. It's going to shake up Kobe, LeBron. This is going to shake the list up.
Even if the Lakers did win, the first thing people like him don't say, "We got to go get Luka to do it."
Yeah,
it's going to happen.
Yeah. Well,
no, I'm not going to say that.
But there will be people who
we're
will say
going to beat the Celtics.
I mean, the answer is LeBron.
Ooh.
One, it would be 2 titles with the LA Lakers.
You just let us chatter on.
Yeah,
Let me clean this up.
It's fine. It would be 2 titles with the Lakers, and one of those titles would not be in the bubble, which personally I don't care about, but people do. Okay, it's hardly like LeBron is hanging on to Luka's coattails here. So there are certainly nights where LeBron could be argued he is the better player still, and Luka has not won a championship without LeBron James. So I'm not going to take a single thing away from LeBron James winning another championship. He's not like, he's not like giving it up to Luka and he's coming off the bench. Like,
I'm not being that. I'm not being that.
No, but like, to me, being a number 2, he's like a 1A. I wouldn't even classify him as a number 2. If it makes you feel more comfortable, fine. But he's still LeBron James. And the reason for that also is he's 40 years old. Him winning a championship, having all the records that he has, the all-time scoring record, and then winning another championship after Anthony Davis leaves, with Luka, who hasn't won a championship, been to a finals, but is not a champion yet, with the LA Lakers, multiple titles with the LA Lakers, you know what that does. I don't think that the passing Jordan with the 5 titles, that's the thing that you have to achieve, because people will always move the goalpost a little bit. Jordan did it perfectly and all those things. And listen, I'm a Jordan zealot, so I hear you. However, this title with LeBron James at his age puts him in a completely rare air that will never be touched again.
Yeah.
No one has ever played at the level that he's playing at his age, the longevity that he has, the records that he has. To add another title in LA with the way that people talk about that title would be a complete game changer. I don't think that everything that you guys said about Steph is irrelevant.
Right.
It definitely would change the conversation around Steph, especially because Steph has transformed the game of basketball.
Yes.
But when we're talking about who particularly benefits more, I think I think I just made a very compelling case.
Certainly you presented that it would be incredibly meaningful for LeBron in a multitude of ways. I'm going to go back to what Paul said, though, in terms of it potentially elevating Steph into a conversation that for all that we say about him, we don't have him in. We're not talking about him. I mean, and that's why when you said he could be better than LeBron, I don't know that I would ever say that he's been better, but he would have had more success in the same era, which kind of really shifts things, right?
So like if Steph has more success in the LeBron era, and we constantly say compare LeBron as the GOAT or next to Jordan, that moves Steph right there and might bump LeBron, because if I'm saying Steph is the GOAT of this era,
yeah, well, it certainly kills LeBron's argument or case for being better than Jordan or
Steph is the GOAT of this era, because we say Steph is the greatest shooter, had the most impact on the game. His influence is unmeasurable. Draymond said he's been the most exciting player of the last 10 years, which could be true. Like I've never heard we don't say these things about LeBron.
I think
a unanimous MVP, nobody's done it. But like, think about that. If you one of those guys and the GOAT or all of this, that doesn't happen. You get one vote, one first place vote, but unanimous? Like you're so good that you got to get one vote. You got a unanimous MVP, so now I'm gonna look like, man, Steph won the era.
Do you consider Steph a point guard, right?
I consider Steph a guard who has changed the game. Who I don't care if you put him at the 1 to 2, he's going to be one of the top 2 of those. Of that.
but also outside, and I've heard Paul talk about it, and a number of other people outside of everything Paul said. There's only one other guy that's Steph's size that won championship as the best player on the team. That was Isaiah Thomas.
Yeah.
So now you got that argument that people gonna have, like, look at his size. He's out here doing this. For sure,
it's gonna get uncomfortable.
Size, and that he did it with arguably three different teams. Yeah. That's crazy. I don't know of a player who's done. I mean, you could look at Jordan. Jordan did it essentially with 2. He three-peated with 2 different teams.
Right.
This would be unprecedented outside of LeBron.
Well, LeBron
did it with 3 different teams.
Yeah, I know, but there's something to be said about the organization. I mean, when you go to a team and they use all their resources to build a championship team, and then you leave and you go to the next team and they use all the resources to build another championship team, versus you stay with the same organization and they and you have to reinvent yourself to do it 3 times.
Yeah.
I'm going to put that just slightly ahead of the other one.
See, I think I know what LeBron has to do.
Here's the thing, and it's funny because Keyshawn Johnson goes on to make a joke about LeBron needing to retire and then to go off and play hockey and then come back. But that won't work, right? Because LeBron James probably won't be successful in hockey, and then he'll come back to the NBA and be even older. And we just all know that LeBron cannot deal with not being the center of attention in the NBA for even 1 second. So there's no way he's retiring and coming back. And plus, I suspect that if he retires, there's going to be some different things exposed about him, and he needs to be playing for as long as he can to avoid that and sort of continue to try to silence people as they try to continue to expose him. But my thoughts on Steph versus LeBron and what Paul Pierce is saying, Honestly, I think that this should have already been a discussion, and it has been. It has been a debate. It's been a debate as who's been the greatest player in this era. For years, for months, there's been a debate if Steph Curry has had more success than LeBron James, and he's already had more success. So just to be clear, Steph Curry won 4 titles in 8 years. Steph Curry has created a dynasty. LeBron has created super teams. LeBron has never created a dynasty. He's never been a part of a dynasty. He's never stayed on a team long enough to create one. He's never built anything. What LeBron does is he manufactures, he orchestrates. Steph Curry stayed with the Warriors. They continued to draft properly. They continued to be a respectable organization. And he worked with the players that he had there. Yeah, he did have Kevin Durant at some point, and yeah, his titles are diluted as well, but so are LeBron's. You know, guys from this era, to me, they're compared to guys from this era, and we can completely compare Steph Curry and LeBron James one-on. To me, these are the comparisons that we need to be having, not LeBron James and Michael Jordan. They have nothing to do with one another. Steph Curry being compared to Magic Johnson, it's not analogous. And it's funny because, you know, Snoop Dogg goes to First Take and he's chatting with the First Take team there, and he's talking about Steph Curry being compared to Magic Johnson. And I do want to play this for you guys because I think it's interesting. Let me see if I have the soundbite.
Snoop, you were making a case on the show for possibly surpassing Magic as the best point guard of all time. This is Steph Curry. Let's flash back to that.
He may be the greatest point guard of all time. And Magic Johnson is my guy.
Magic Johnson is your guy.
I said he may be.
Maybe. You just said, hold on, to stop the person. Snoop Dogg, a Lakers fan, lifelong Lakers fan, a personal friend of Irvin Magic Johnson. Guy. That's your guy. You just said on national television he may be the best. Steph Curry may be the best point guard ever.
I say this: Magic is the greatest point guard of all time. I said Steph may be getting close to challenging that. You know the way they speak of Jordan and LeBron, and they always have that conversation. They should start speaking on Magic and Steph, because Magic got 5 championships, Steph got 4 championships, and Steph got a few more years left. He ain't getting one this year though. But you know, later on down the road he may get one. He didn't ran up on the big bed this week.
Okay, that was 2023. So prognostication skills, right? He didn't win the championship this year. But if he wins his 5th and would he pass Magic as the best point guard if he ties him with 5 rings?
I don't think the 5 rings just automatically passes him up. I think the fact that he shoots threes and Magic didn't shoot threes, and he's got more action at points and overall game. And I don't think neither one of them played like great defense. So I can't really say that they both was on both sides of the ball. But I just feel like the way Steph has changed the game. He changed the whole game of basketball. That says a lot. When I played, you would never run to the basket and throw it out for a 3-point. You would shoot the layup or the coach would take you out the game. Steph got everybody in the world thinking they can shoot threes, including big men. And that's all because of Steph. When he started popping in and bopping and coming down court, doing his thing, putting in the bed, he changed the game, but he's a point guard, but he shoots like a shooting guard. That's why I feel like he's close to Magic, because he's got that other level of changing the whole narrative of basketball like Magic did when he came out of Michigan State to the NBA. He changed the whole narrative of the NBA.
That's an interesting sentiment. Mad Dog, you're our historian over here. To that, you say what?
I think Magic is better. And I think because he's 6'8", that's where he changed the game.
6'9".
So he's a big point guard. They wasn't big point guards like Magic before he came in. Here's what I would say that I like Magic better. Magic could dominate a game without scoring.
Thanks.
Curry can't do that. Curry doesn't, he doesn't dominate a game scoring 10 points. You saw it, he saw it, I saw it. Many a game, Magic scored 2 baskets, but he had 13 assists, 12 rebounds. The game emanated through him, the flow of the game. So the fact that, and I tell you something else on Magic, you'd love to be his teammate and play with him. He came down to the schoolyard and you were playing pickup. You'd like to be on Magic team. He'd get you a million layups.
I played with him in an All-Star game and scored 25 points.
There you go.
I'm going to rebuke my statement. You can teach your old dog a new trick. Magic is the greatest.
There we go. Get out of here.
Well, listen, here's the thing that when we have this discussion about a Magic Johnson versus a Steph Curry, here's what we got to understand. You got to dissect this. Magic Johnson is the greatest quintessential point guard in NBA history. What do I mean by quintessential? You have a situation where people look at a point guard, old school cats and others, about being a facilitator. What did you create for others? Okay, that is their definition of a point guard. Not somebody that's just at the point guard spot because you're the smallest guard in the backcourt and you know what, but you're really a shooting guard. They look at Magic Johnson as a pure prototypical quintessential point guard. You facilitate and create opportunities for other people around you to excel. It's different for Steph Curry. Steph Curry is a scorer and the greatest shooter God has ever created. Here's where it gets interesting, and here's where the actual debate kicks in. When you think about a point guard, even though Magic did it in a completely different way than Steph Curry, who has the greater impact on an offense? Who greater impacted a defense and how they game plan against you? If you went up against Magic, you had to keep your head on a swivel because the brother was the greatest passer. He was 6'9", he could look over most defenses. He could lead a fast break. He could rebound and start the fast break himself. And you had a Worthy on one wing, a Byron Scott on another, a Cooper behind you, Rambis occasionally, Michael Thompson occasionally. And then when things went awry, okay, let's pull it back out and get the ball to Kareem. For the Scott, that's what you did. With Steph Curry, it's gotten to a point where it just ain't Draymond. Nobody does it better than Draymond. But it's not just Draymond anymore. Everybody. It doesn't matter. You got guys that have open threes and they still know to give it to Steph because you're shocked when he misses. When this brother shoots and some of the defenders trying to block the shot, I've seen guys miss blocking the shot and say, damn, without even turning around to look at the basket. But they know it's going in. That's how lethal he is. His movement without the basketball, his range, his ability to shoot from anywhere in the court, left side, right side, top, 30, 40, 50 feet. You literally have to guard Steph Curry the second he steps past half court. So which is the greater impact? That's the only debate about Magic.
And what's your
versus
answer to
Steph.
that? What's the greater impact from your vantage
I
point?
think Steph has had a greater impact against defenses because of his shooting range, but Magic Johnson is the greatest quintessential point guard that has ever lived.
I don't think Steph would have shot like that in the 80s. Defenses wouldn't have let him move around.
That's what they said. That's what they
He
tell me
couldn't
all the
be
time.
all that moving around, man.
They said
They would have popped.
I've had cats. I won't say one Hall of Famer said to me, Steph Curry would not have averaged more than 17 or 18 a game when we played. I said, how could you say that? He said, simple. We would have hurt him. He said, well, you got to run him through those picks. He's going to feel something.
Gotta leave it there. But it's already a compliment that it's even a debate, clearly.
Yes.
Snoop, what do you think that your Steelers should do? You think they should take Shador?
Okay, so I do want to address Steph versus LeBron, but before I do, I want to talk about why this Steph Curry to Magic Johnson is not analogous. And it is because Steph Curry is just listed as a point guard, but he doesn't play like one. So when we see that he doesn't play like a point guard, what are we even doing to compare him to Isaiah Thomas? Isaiah Thomas was way better than Steph Curry as a point guard, but he obviously wasn't a better shooter. He wasn't a better scorer. He wasn't a better Magic Johnson was not a better scorer than Steph Curry. So clearly we shouldn't be comparing, and we really need to stop comparing the eras. It is annoying. It is ridiculous. Steph Curry, I don't believe he would have made it back then as a point guard. He would have been Del Curry. I don't really see what the difference is. People were not allowed to shoot three-pointers. It didn't matter how good of a shooter you were. It just didn't matter. If you were shooting three-pointers when you weren't supposed to, you were taken out of the game. So Magic Johnson, and it's funny because we talk about impact. Steph Curry has had a major impact on today's game, but Magic Johnson still impacts today's game. He still does. All the way from the 80s, he's still impacting players today. 6'8", 6'9", bringing the ball down, playing the point guard role. Yeah, he played center. He was listed as a center, but he played point guard. Did he ever play as a center? Of course he did. But the truth of the matter is we see guys like Jokic bringing the ball down, 7 feet tall. We've seen Kevin Durant play the point guard. Not very successfully, in my opinion, but we've seen it. We are seeing bigger guys play the point guard role, and all of that is because of Magic Johnson. Anytime you see a big guy, anybody who's over 6'6", running the ball down, that's because of Magic Johnson. And people don't want to give credit for that. They don't want to remember how guys from the past actually still impact today's game. Magic Johnson paved the way for the point forward. Magic Johnson paved the way for guys that were going to bring the ball down the court. He made it okay for anybody, no matter how tall you are, no matter how big or small you were. If you could grab the ball and run it, if you could run with pace, then you were able to do that. It didn't matter who brought the ball down, but that was because of Magic. Now, what Steph Curry has had to do, yeah, I mean, he has had to make a name for himself, and he made it so that the everyday guy could play basketball. But what happened is that we changed the league for Steph Curry. And so now, like, again, we took out the physicality from the NBA. We removed it. And now they're bringing back, they're creating an emphasis on defense, but it seems that they're only doing it in the playoffs, right? And Steph Curry, he's flourishing in today's league and today's era, but I don't know that he would have made it back then. I just don't know. I don't know that he would have been able to take those amounts of threes in a game. A guy shooting 12 threes, I don't think so. Just don't think he'd be able to do that. He'd have to be like really good at driving in the lane, drive and kick like that. He would have had to do those kinds of things. He would have also had to get a lot tougher, a lot faster. His first couple of years in his career, Steph Curry was very injury prone. He might not have made it out of those injuries. He might have been cut from the team if he had been injured that many times upon entering the league. So I don't like the comparison of Steph Curry to Magic Johnson. I love the comparison of Steph Curry to LeBron James. They play in today's league together. And what I love about that comparison is that whose game has LeBron James influence? I'll wait. Who is playing like LeBron? I only really see maybe one guy, two, three guys playing like LeBron, and it's more so the style at which that the offense runs through. It's the style of play where you're able to gouge points, rebounds, and assists from the rest of the team, where you're able to allow for only you to look good. You're like the lone warrior on the team. Even though there's 5 people on the floor, you are the lone warrior. You're getting all the points, all the rebounds, and all the assists because you're bringing the ball down. You're a ball stopper. You're holding the ball until you can either score the ball or get an assist that you're credited to. Then you're hanging out waiting for the long rebound. And that's how they're racking up these triple doubles. And Luka Doncic plays that way. LeBron and Luka have been sort of canceling each other out. They barely, the two of them on the floor, they almost never get a triple double while they're both on the floor, which is interesting, right? Because they play the same way. Then you have Nikola Jokic. He plays very similar. He's gouging all the points, rebounds, and assists. The ball starts with him. And if he can't score it, then he's going to pass. He does pass it a little faster than Luka and LeBron. He's not holding the ball for the entire shot clock like the way that they do. He is really distributing. However, he's still gouging the points, rebounds, and assists because he's got to be responsible for so much on the floor. Anyhow, I think that Steph Curry is the greatest in the LeBron James era. Unanimous MVP, 4 titles in 8 years. And so what? He orchestrated his titles in a way where he picked up Kevin Durant, right? So that was some player movement that he was responsible for. He recruited another superstar to his team. But again, 4 titles in 8 years, that is more impressive than LeBron's 4 titles in 20 years. It's just more impressive to me. But what do you guys think? Is Steph Curry the greatest in the LeBron James era? Steph Curry is the guy that has allowed for anybody, a guy who can't, who barely has an NBA body. Like think about all the guys that are in the NBA currently because of Steph Curry. Just think about it. Would there be a way for Trae Young to be here if not for Steph Curry? Would Jalen Brunson have a job if not for Steph Curry? I don't know. I just don't know. Undersized guards are playing this game. They have been dominant. So Steph Curry made it possible for the everyday man, a guy who's 6'3", a guy who's 6 feet, to play, be successful, believe in themselves that if they just shoot enough threes, they can win. That's what he's been able to do. So what do you guys think? I see some more Lakers comments. Lakers, I think, will be out in 6 games. To me, they don't have an elite big man to play defense in the middle there, and they're getting exposed by the T-Wolves. Couldn't agree more. Has Luka lost some weight yet, at least for the playoffs? No, I think he's still a lard ass. I think he's still pretty fat. From what I can tell, Luka looks just like this still. Okay? That's a Lakers uniform. I didn't see too much weight loss. But, also what I love about Steph Curry is I don't see him putting his kids in the league. I know he's mainly got daughters, but I mean, at least they're not, who knows? Maybe they'll grow up and play with him too. Because we do have, because think about who we do have on the Lakers. We've got Bronny there. He's just taking up a roster spot, a qualified, from a qualified player, right? Combined, what are they? What were they? A minus 70? Look at them. Father-son duo. This is what LeBron James is responsible for. Steph Curry changed the game. He made everybody a shooter. He even made LeBron James change his game. So the fact that LeBron James had to change his entire game to be more like Steph Curry, I'm going to go with Steph Curry being the greatest in the LeBron James era. It should be the Steph Curry era. He should be considered the greatest in this era, in the modern day basketball. He completely changed the game. He inspired hundreds of players currently in the NBA to shoot high. He inspired every team, 28 teams, to shoot volume 3-point shots. He's the greatest in the LeBron James era, period. the crazy thing about this is that if Shannon Sharpe were to get a hold of this topic, he would be emphatically probably crying over LeBron James and how there's no way that Steph Curry could be considered the GOAT of this era. There's no way we could put Steph Curry over LeBron James after he came back being down 3-1, that he never should have been down 3-1. But again, we celebrate losing and coming back from losing, right? But yeah, Shannon Sharpe, he would be vehemently against this. He would be seriously debating this and screaming at the top of his lungs. And, it brings me to my next topic, Shannon Sharpe, who, pretty much he is at this point, he's cooked, he's done for, he's pretty much a disgrace television, YouTube content personality. And it is sad because we've had a lot of really great content from Shannon Sharpe. He's being accused of some pretty egregious things. And I hate that we have to come in here and sort of dissect this, because really, I don't really care too much about the allegations. For me, it's not the allegations. It was the camaraderie that he had with Stephen A. Smith, and all of these allegations that have come out. We've seen Shannon Sharpe essentially defend himself. We've seen him come out and really just deny these allegations. A woman is accusing him of rape, repeat rape they're accusing him of. And it's just awful. And I'm going to play for you Shannon Sharpe and his statement. He came out, he had a video response and reply. Stephen A. Smith actually, he has responded to Shannon Sharpe and these allegations, and I'm shocked by his replies and his responses. We're going to unpack that. This is more about Stephen A. Smith and less about Shannon Sharpe. So these allegations, they don't really mean much to me. All of these things, they come out every other month about somebody else. So now it's Shannon Sharpe's turn, and it seems that he's pretty much done for. He will not be returning back to TV. So let me go ahead and play his response to these allegations, and then we'll go from there.
To my family, friends, supporters, and colleagues, I want to speak to you directly from the heart. This is a shakedown. I'm going to be open, transparent, and defend myself, because this isn't right. This is all being orchestrated by Tony Busby, who has targeted Jay-Z. Tony Busby targets black men, and I believe he's going to release a 30-second clip of a sex tape that tries to make me look guilty and play into every stereotype you could possibly imagine. That video should actually be 10 minutes or so. Hey, Tony, instead of releasing your edit, put the whole video out. I don't have it, or I would myself. You know what happened, and you're trying to manipulate the media. The encounter in question took place during the day at her invitation, and now that appears to be a deliberate setup, coordinated by Gabby, also known as Carly, on OnlyFans. Gabby and Tony Busby want $50 million. What they're getting is sued for defamation and trying to take me down. My career is all about real talk and honesty. I know my family and fans know exactly what this is about. And I'm going to be out there telling you whatever I need to say, just like I always do. I love all you guys.
Shannon Sharpe calls himself transparent. If he was so transparent, then why didn't we know that someone was shaking him down for quite some time? That's not very transparent. We're not finding out about it until it's coming out, right? Until literally, I think 24 hours after he signed a huge contract, that $100 million deal for Nightcap, right? So I don't know if these allegations are true. Like I said, I really don't care. But this is, again, more about Stephen A. Smith. This is about how Stephen A. Smith has now responded to these allegations. And again, Stephen A., he went out and got Shannon from Skip, right? So Skip embarrassed Shannon Sharpe on Fox when they were doing the Undisputed show together. He completely sort of denigrated him on that show, disrespected him, and Shannon Sharpe left FS1, and we're told that he was fired from the network, and Stephen A. Smith didn't want him to be blackballed. So he picked him up for First Take, and he continued to elevate his own show, essentially, right? Through ESPN and with Shannon Sharpe. And so Stephen A. Smith has had quite a bit to say about this subject, and he does have his own podcast on YouTube, his own YouTube channel that he owns in full. And apparently ESPN has allowed him to speak out on this, and it seems as though they want him to speak out on it. It seems as though they want Stephen A to be their mouthpiece and to come out and say, hey, we do not support this. We're not going to support it. And Stephen A is basically like patting himself on the back while throwing Shannon Sharpe under the bus. And I can't believe this. I'll be honest. I can believe it because Stephen A does things like this, whether it be to Kyrie Irving, Allen Iverson, and others. He'll just throw them under the bus, right? He'll set them up for all kinds of things. But this feels a little bit more calculated. It feels like some self-preservation, like, hey, Stephen A is like, hey, I recruited this person, and Disney is like, hey, you better fix this. You better get out there and make a statement because you brought him here. So everybody's going to think that you're aligned with him. So he's had to respond. And I'm going to play Stephen A's response. He has 2 different sound bites that I'm going to play for you guys, and we're going to unpack them because really and truly, I think it's disgusting that he would speak on this in this fashion, in this way for so long. And it just feels very backhanded to me. It feels like backhanded support. Like he's not really supporting Shannon Sharpe, and he's just really trying to save his own ass and save the ass of Disney and save face and let everybody know, hey, I have nothing to do with this. Here's what I think about some of this. He's trying to build equity with all of us. And I'm just going to let you guys hear it for yourselves.
Was not there. I can provide no eyewitness account. And even though I got love and respect for Shannon Sharpe, and I'm sincerely hopeful and prayerful that he is completely innocent of the allegations that have been levied against him, I can't sit here and speak to his innocence or guilt from a knowledgeable place because I have nothing to do with this. I haven't seen anything. I don't know anything. I don't even know this person. I know what the reports say. I know the reports, the things that have been reported on a multitude of outlets, from the AP to the New York Post to Forbes to TMZ and everything in between. I mean, I can't even count the number of publications that have talked about it or written about it, networks, etc. It's all over the internet. It's everywhere. And I know that. I'm fully aware of that. This is not a criminal case. So there is no concern about him going to jail. This is a civil case. Which means that he could either be found liable or not liable. The accuser in question is seeking $50 million. That was confirmed by Shannon Sharpe on that video today. According to the reports, it's somebody that he met in 2023, who was 19 years old at that particular moment in time. According to some audio that was put out earlier today by Attorney Busby, you hear the accuser, the female, talking to somebody who is alleged to be Shannon Sharpe. We don't know whether that's true or not. And the person in question, again, we don't know whether it's Shannon or not. The words choke, as in I will choke the hell out of you if I saw you. And so because of that, knowing that audio was probably going to come out along with additional tapes, whether they be video or audio is unclear at this particular moment in time, Shannon Sharpe felt compelled to come out in his own defense. How we interpret that? Let me be very, very clear about where I'm coming from. I'm a bit torn in terms of his response. On one hand, Tony Busby has sued Jay-Z. He did sue Diddy. He did accuse them, or represented the woman who was accusing them of assault, of sexual assault, and said that she was 13 years of age at the time when talking about Jay-Z and Diddy, and Jay-Z went ballistic and emphatically denied it, wouldn't let it go. The case was dropped, and now he's suing Busby, mentioning words like extortion and other things. So when Shannon Sharpe brought up Mr. Busby in that video that we aired and talked about him being extorted, he brought up Mr. Busby and Mr. Busby's past. And he talked about him, going against African-American men. There's 2 thoughts there. On one hand, there's the Jay-Z, who obviously should be presumed innocent, not just because you should be presumed innocent until found guilty, but because of the manner in which he fought on his own behalf and has been very aggressive in going after Tony Busby. In the case of P. Diddy, you don't know what to believe. Again, the case against Jay-Z was a civil suit. Diddy was a civil suit. But in Diddy, you don't know what to believe because of all the allegations he's facing. But we can't forget that Tony Busby was also the person that represented at least 24 of the 27 women that accused Deshaun Watson of sexual misconduct along with other allegations. And at least 23 of those cases were settled. So we have an obligation to mention that. So on one hand, going on the offensive to defend himself, I completely understand where Shannon Sharpe is coming from. On the other hand, when his legal team issued out the press release on X yesterday, and they spoke about, they mentioned her name, and they revealed some of those explicit text messages, that was uncomfortable. And I don't know if that's a strategy that would work. One of the hardest things in the world for all of us to do is to just lay low and be quiet and let our legal team do it. And we don't always know whether or not that's the right thing to do. I know, and I can tell you all that I spoke to Shannon, not in details, but I spoke to him, and he emphatically proclaims his innocence. According to Mr. Busby, his client emphatically proclaims his guilt. So where does that leave us? I'd love to tell you that I know the answer to that question, but I don't. I am the executive producer of First Take on ESPN. I recruited Shannon. I went and got him and brought him to ESPN. But I'm not the boss. Those are other folks. There are layers to this, and there are certain layers even I am not on. I can tell you, I also spoke to co-chairman of Disney, the boss, Jimmy Pitaro, who made it very, very clear we are taking this matter very seriously, and we are looking into this very, very closely. And once we gather as many facts as we possibly can, we will go from there. And that is all he said. And I can mention his name because I received his permission to say that. I don't know what that means. In my perfect world, this equates to Jay-Z, where the case ultimately dropped and Shannon is allowed to continue on First Take and continue to thrive and shine. And not just that, and have an illustrious career in the podcast stratosphere, doing Nightcap with Chad Ochocinco, doing Club Shay Shay, and ultimately gets this $100 million deal that he was all over the news about to sign just a couple of days before this report came out. In my perfect world, he moves on. And somehow, some way, we find this all to be false. But it doesn't seem like that's the way things are about to go down, considering who Mr. Busby is and how emphatic his client is proclaiming that she is right and she's telling the truth. I don't know where this is going to go. I can't speak to anything else. I don't know who Shannon Sharpe's legal team is and what they're suggesting. I imagine that everything that has transpired has been at the behest of his lawyers, not just himself. I can tell you again that when I spoke to him, he is emphatic in stating his innocence, that this is a shakedown, to use his words. How wise is it to use those kind of words when a civil matter of this nature is out there? When you have a podcast and you have advertisers and sponsors and you work for ESPN and they have advertising sponsors, I don't know. What can we say if any of us were in that position and we felt or were proclaiming we were innocent? I don't know. And I'm not about to pretend. I just wanted to make sure that I echo to all of you that the only reason I spoke on this issue is because he works with me 2 days a week. He's on national television. He was on national television with me today. He was on national television with me yesterday when the story came out Sunday night. I didn't know anything about it until we got on the air. But he was on air. And if you know him in part because of all the work that he's doing with me and what he's doing in this industry, I know everybody's been waiting. Like, Stephen A., what you got to say about this? I got to say what I just told you. I don't know what's happened. I know I got love for the brother. I know that I'm wishing that he's innocent and all of this stuff goes away and he can continue to thrive with me on ESPN and thrive in his own platforms that he worked so diligently over the years to build. But anything else would be entirely irresponsible for me to speak on. And I can't do that. Yes, I own this. This is my platform.
Stephen, I can't. I mean, Stephen A. Smith strikes again. Just let this play out. I don't understand. Like, I can understand Stephen A. Smith making a statement. Hey, I have no knowledge of this. I am just wishing Shannon Sharpe the best through this situation. I know that it's hard. I cannot confirm or deny these allegations. Like, say something professional and move on, right? I just don't understand why he had to take to his podcast twice, because this is not the only time he spoke on it. He speaks on it again. Okay. And to me, he's insulting Shannon Sharpe. He's saying, like, basically, how could you be so stupid? Like, I get it. You're denying these allegations, but your lawyer is going to come out and, make statements for you that sound ridiculous. I don't know how smart that was. He's saying his opinion about this situation. He's saying he's only going to speak on it because he works with him 2 days a week. I mean, I just don't know why he had to speak this far and speak so much on the topic. There's no way that they can be friends ever again. Absolutely no way that they can be friends. Zero. He tells us all that he was fired, that they mutually agreed. So basically, he's saying it really wasn't Shannon Sharpe's decision to step down. This was a mutual decision between him and Disney. So Disney's asking him to do this. He literally, Stephen A. Smith says this in the next soundbite. So I'm going to play this for you now.
I know this place. I know the worldwide leader that it's ESPN, who's under the umbrella of Disney. And it wasn't difficult for me to figure out what was transpiring. As I sit here before you today discussing this matter, ESPN and Disney have a wait and see attitude when it comes to whatever evidence they may learn about this entire situation involving Shannon Sharpe from a legal and from a civil perspective. What they didn't need, as it pertains to those two things that I just mentioned, they didn't need any definitive evidence at this particular moment in time about all of that stuff. Once all the things Shannon Sharpe's lawyer put out there, it was uncomfortable to listen to. And it was not something that Walt Disney wants associated with its brand. So to have him on the airwaves while all of that stuff was put out there was not something that Disney was going to take. That is what I mean when I say I'm not surprised. In getting to know Shannon Sharpe, I know a lot of things that he has articulated that he has been through in his life. I can't imagine too many things in life tougher than what he's going through now. And there's a lot of people out there talking a lot of smack, a lot of stuff about him. You will never hear that from me. It will not happen. I don't give a damn if we speak a day from now, a month from now, a year from now, years from now. He's my friend. And it's always going to be that way. I'd say the same thing to you about anybody else that I know to be my friend. I don't have to work with you. I don't have to be around you. I don't have to be around you all the time, talking to you all the time, to have love for you and to wish you the best. And that's exactly what it's going to be for him. I sincerely hope that all of this goes away and we find there's a bunch of falsehoods to these allegations and he's able to come back in this industry and do what he has been doing, which has been phenomenal. I hope Club Shay Shay and Nightcap and all of these other things that he's associated with, that he continues to thrive in his life and move forward. And whatever mistakes he may have made along the way, I'm not talking from a legal or civil perspective. I'm talking about in his eyes or that of others, whether it be moral or something else. I hope that he corrects whatever he feels he needs to correct and he moves forward. But in the process of doing all of that, I hope we're all reminded of a few things. And this extends far beyond Shannon Sharpe or anybody else. One of the things that we need to remind ourselves of is that in this day and age, very few things are private. In this day and age, there's very few things that won't come to light, because most things do. But thinking beyond Shannon, thinking beyond myself, just thinking about the world that we live in terms of the podcast stratosphere and everything like that, a lot of people want to walk around thinking you can do what you want to do when you want to do it. You can your own operation. You don't have to answer to anybody. That's not true. I've had people open their mouth and they've said, Stephen A., you work for ESPN. What kind of control do you really have? This is my podcast. This is my YouTube show. I own this. But if you think for 1 second that I could just do what I want to do, when I want to do it, how I want to do it, and there's not going to be any repercussions, you're clueless. And you're destined to fail and fall on your face. I'm not talking about Shannon Sharpe. I'm not talking about Shannon Sharpe. I'm not talking about anybody in particular. I'm talking about a climate that we're living in. Some people sit up there and they look at me and they say, Stephen A. don't get himself in this kind of trouble. How does he pull it off? Well, first of all, there's certain behaviors and proclivities that you never have to worry about me engaging in. But most importantly than that, I often say this about Walt Disney. I'd rather work for a place with standards than one looking for them. You know why? Because lines are drawn. And I never have to worry about crossing them because guess what? I've got something there reminding me, hold on. You don't need to do that. It's not a silo. I'm not by myself. I don't get to operate in any way that I want without having to worry about ramifications or repercussions. I always have to be concerned about that. So I'm challenged every day to come on the airwaves and think about the ramifications and repercussions of anything that I do constantly. And because of that, that's an additional guardrail to secure me from putting myself in a position that could jeopardize myself, my show, my brand, my family, the company that I work for, anything like that. Again, I'm not talking about Shannon right now. I'm talking about what people say when it comes to people like myself and others who unapologetically explain that we have people to answer to. And all you folks out there with your own podcast, running your own operations, if you have advertisers and sponsors, get what? You answer to somebody too. And I'm here to tell you, don't be upset about it. Feel good about it. Because you need to view it as an extra line of security that enables you, it being a guardrail, it enables you to watch lines that you want to make sure that you don't cross. Because when those lines are always there, you usually know it. And you usually make sure you don't cross it. Because the bigger picture is always staring in front of your face. I've seen a lot of stuff happen over the last few months. I've seen a lot of stuff happen over the last few years. And in almost every case, guardrails were pretty much absent. I'm glad I have guardrails. The people that work for me, the people that work with me, the people I work for, the public at large. I find a way to be me while in the same breath guarding myself against some of the things I need to be guarded against. Just a thought. Just a thought. Back to Shannon. I'll always be here for him if he needs me. Just the same way I said that about Skip Bayless when he departed from Fox. Just the same way that I would say about any of my friends. That's what friends do. Even in the toughest of times. Sometimes, especially the toughest of times. They ain't telling you you're right all the time. And hell, sometimes they may not stop you from falling into that abyss, but they're there to lift you up. when nobody else will. That's all I have to say. Other than I hope he's back in this business real soon on linear television, talking some football, because that man knows his football. And he certainly knows how to entertain us while he's talking about football. I'm going to miss him. I hope he's back soon.
Stephen S. Smith is a liar. Okay. I don't know if you guys hear, he all but stomped out Shannon Sharpe with both of these appearances on his own podcast. 2 separate instances. He is literally going in on Shannon Sharpe. I can tell Stephen A. Smith is angry. It's almost as if, okay, I brought you here and you embarrassed me. You didn't tell me about these, all of these. He called them proclivities. You never have to worry about me having any proclivities like this. And I mean, it's confirmed. Shannon Sharpe did, in fact, have a relationship with a 19-year-old. Whether it was consensual, non-consensual, but these things are the facts. The facts is that he was with this young woman. A man in his 50s. The optics of that does not look right. So Stephen A. Smith is saying, hey, I'm completely disgusted by what we know is true. So what we know to be true, I'm not in alignment with that. Neither is Disney. We want completely away from these allegations. You don't have to worry about me being caught up in any of that. I want you to know this is not me. I'm not with 19-year-olds. I'm not with anybody that can't drink. I'm not engaged in BDSM. I don't have text message threads with women talking like this, saying I'm going to choke them, etc. I mean, he was reading and repeating the text messages and audio. That's what Stephen A. was participating in. So he's trying to build equity with viewers, and he's trying to ensure that everybody knows that he wants nothing to do with this. They are not friends. They probably never were friends. Stephen A. Smith is angry that Shannon Sharpe put him in a position to be called to task, to be asked anything about this. He does not want to be associated with a scandal this way. He might be running for president. So Stephen A. Smith is pissed. He's pissed at Shannon for letting this come out. He's pissed at Shannon for not making the network or even him aware or giving him a heads up that he was going through these issues. He's upset with Shannon Sharpe, and he's letting everybody know, hey, I would never do anything this stupid. I have guardrails. I have a brain. I'm going to read a couple of your comments, and then, guys, we're going to end the live. I have to get back to basketball. I've got to watch the rest of the games tonight. I've already missed the Cavaliers blowing the Miami Heat off the floor. I was watching the first quarter, and literally, I think it was a blowout from the first quarter that I believe they were up 25 on them. So that was pretty much a joke of a series. Cavaliers should be able to, breeze through the first and the second round to get to the Eastern Conference Finals, unless Cavaliers are a second round knockout, just like Donovan Mitchell has been pretty much for all of his career. So we'll see. Can the Cavaliers get out of the second round and get to that Eastern Conference Finals? But yeah, I do want to know what you guys think about the Shannon Sharpe situation. I really do. Oh, it looks like we did have some super chats come through. I'm sorry about that if I missed them. Okay. From Mark, salute to you for the $5 super chat. If the Lakers come back, we'll never hear the end of it. If the Timberwolves win, the media will say LeBron pushed Ant to the next level. Yeah, I can see that totally. I agree. Yeah, but we are never going to hear the end of it if the Lakers come back. And yeah, it will be that like this is Ant's coming out story already, even though he's already arrived, even though he's already made the Western Conference Finals, having nothing to do with LeBron. He's just been knocking old guys out since last season when he swept Kevin Durant. So maybe he can pull off a gentleman's sweep for the Lakers. But Brand117, thank you for the $2 super chat. I see why LeBron never went to the Knicks or the Nets. So do I. He wouldn't be able to handle that scrutiny, that level of New York pressure. He would fold. He would have never won a title there, likely as well. Brand, salute to you for the $5 super chat. I have to disagree with Steph's inability to play back then. In the Rockets game, he was able to score even when he wasn't getting calls. Yes, he was, but he had to develop into that. Steph Curry, we saw what happened to him in 2016. You don't get chances like that over a decade to increase your ability to play against physical defense in 80s or 90s basketball. You don't get, 10 seasons to adjust to that. You're out pretty quickly. So he would have been injured in his first season, second season, probably cut from the league. That's how they used to do the players back then. 80s and 90s, if you were considered an injury-prone player, you might not even get a contract. So it's really interesting, and things are definitely trickier between the errors. It's not all the same. The circumstances aren't the same, whether it's because of the style of play, because of just the politics and the way the organizations were being ran and the way the NBA was being commissioned at that time. So we have to take into account all of those factors. It's just not the same. So when we take a look at today's league and we take a look at the yesteryear, we should not be transforming people forward or backward. Keep them in their era and compare those players against the players of that era, because those eras were they've always had perfectly great competition, and there's always someone that's more analogous in their era. So let's keep it to that. But instead, we have to compare, and comparisons are truly the thief of joy. So but back to the Stephen A. Smith, Shannon Sharpe subject, blockchain easy. Yes, Stephen A. Smith is a piranha like most media. They smell blood in the water and they want to get views out of it. I believe he wants to get views out of it, but more than that, I think it's about self-preservation. Stephen A. Smith is going to trend, and he's going to Stephen A. Smith and First Take constantly. So these things are never going to end. He's always going to be on the news cycle, part of the news cycle, but he should have addressed Shannon Sharpe's situation professionally and moved on. Even if he wanted to touch upon, Disney being in charge and him having nothing to do with the decision, I'm fine with that as well. But to get into the details, to say his opinion about the lawyer, to basically insult Shannon Sharpe and his ability to make good judgment calls in his personal life and his professional life, I just don't think that was necessary. I don't think it was necessary to say how stupid he was for dealing with a 19-year-old woman and getting caught in the public. So I just don't think he needed to give his opinion. I don't think that he needed to make that proclivities comment and compare himself and even put him in the situation to say, oh, I would never do something like this. Okay, Stephen A., you've done other things that have gotten your ass fired from ESPN, like lying. Okay, like you have done things at ESPN, like, maybe saying that a woman should not hit a man. And, remember when that woman got hit in the elevator? No, she shouldn't have hit Ray Rice. No, she shouldn't have. But I don't think I think that's besides the point when she's knocked out laying on the floor. So again, like Stephen A. Smith doesn't always make the best decision. So for him to be, the jury and the executioner here, I don't like it. And I think that Shannon Sharpe and these allegations are absolutely disgusting. He's cooked. He's gone. So just let it be that. Let him be cooked. Let him be gone. I don't think you, Stephen A., needed to come out and say all of these things. I just think it was inappropriate. I think it was in poor taste, and it lacked in professionalism, in my opinion. And for you to just continuously say that you are in alignment with your bosses and the network that pays you, we hear you. We know that. We know that you've always been that way. Stephen A. Smith is considered to be an Uncle Tom by many, a complete sellout by many. So none of this is new, but say a sentence or two and move on. So did Stephen A. turn his back on Shannon? I don't think he ever had Shannon's back to turn, but yes, ultimately, I think that this is a betrayal, and we'll never see Shannon Sharpe and Stephen A. Smith working again together. So I want to thank all of you guys for joining the stream. Do me a favor and like the video, share the video, subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already. Let everybody know, your family and friends, about Sports Tea. But let's get the word out there. Let's get the word out there about Sports Tea, and let's grow this community. Let's blow it up big. But like the video, subscribe, and drop me a line in the comments about your thoughts. Tell me, do you think the Lakers can win in 7? Tell me how you feel about the Knicks in the Pistons series. Do you like the physical defense? Do you think that Pistons deserve to win that game? What do you think? Is Steph Curry or LeBron James, are they the greatest of the modern day era? Who is the greatest? Which one? Which would elevate the GOAT case for either one of them if they win 5 rings? And Shannon Sharpe, do you think he's gotten what's coming to him? And has Stephen A. Smith turned his back on him? I think so. But thank you all for joining. Really appreciate you being here for the live. And like I said, like, share, and subscribe. Have a wonderful, wonderful night and enjoy the rest of these playoff games tonight. I can't wait to come and cook on them in the morning or maybe tomorrow night. But you guys have a wonderful, wonderful night. And I will see you tomorrow. Bye-bye.